So when we say, I mentioned a while ago, you're not going to anyone's department to nitpick, no, or to check for error or mistakes. You're there to check for conformity. What does it mean? Fulfillment of specified requirements. So we will go back to the criteria, and you will only focus your audit based on the criteria that you've set for the audit. Okay? So later on, I will show you the example of the audit checklist. Findings: a statement of fact made during an audit and substantiated by objective evidence. When you say something that is not in conformance with the criteria that you've set, you don't say personal opinions, you don't say judgments, you don't say emotional reaction, you don't say anything that is not written in the criteria that you use. Okay, so what does it mean? Say for example, this one, Alex used green ink. I'm not gonna raise NCR because Alex used green because it doesn't look good. I feel that this is a non-conformance because Alex used green pen, which is not in accordance with the standard ink. Where does it says that you cannot use green, you cannot use pink, you cannot use yellow, you cannot use red? Nothing. Okay, so only focus on what the requirement is telling you. If the requirement is telling you that you have to have an attendance sheet when you're doing the training, because this shows an objective evidence that something has been carried out, then that's it. If there is no attendance, then that's a non-conformity. Because how can they now verify that actual training has been done? There's no proof. When you're doing an audit, there should be a factual evidence, no? Substantiated by an objective evidence. Objective meaning something that you can refer to. Okay? So let's say for example, in the ITP, if there is inspection criteria that an activity should be done once a day, so you have to have a proof that this is done once a day. Is there a checklist? Is there a checkpoint? Is there, I don't know what, especially if it's hold point or witness point. So there should be objective evidence. So when we say objective evidence, this is something that you can see and touch and verify. Okay? So quality auditor, person qualified to perform quality audits. To become an auditor, you have to have first an experience, second is, well, first is the training, of course, you have to have the training, and then second you have to have proper experience. So that's why you're doing trainings and workshops, and part of the workshop we do exercises so that you gain skills on doing an audit. It's not just, you know, I can do whatever I want when I go there without system or without structure. Okay? So first party is internal quality audit. You do this within the organization. So we can do this within each thing. So if you want to audit construction, if you want to audit design, if you want to audit procurement, if you want to audit health and safety, so that's internal audit. Second party is the supplier audit. So you audit PBSBG, so that's second party. You audit ANEL, that's second party. Third party is external quality audit. So this is when an organization is a company, is an ISO certified company, so another third party, which is the certifying body, who will go there and then they will audit the system. So they're the ones who's providing the certificate. Okay. Principles, again. So I gave this an example a while ago already. So, but just to reiterate, so when you want to do an audit, you want to check for people, that's competence. Okay. Paper, are they implementing what they say? This is the objective evidence, and then practice where they implement it. This is procedures. This is checklist. This is reports. This is attendance sheet. This is everything, all the paper document that they need to implement their system. And then the practice, are they actually doing it? Or they're just making money back? Tulad ni Kuya Darwin. Joke lang. Okay? I'm gonna skip this. we will deal with this later. So, again, audit basis, you have to have, in a standard training, so when you do the lead auditor course, they will always tell you to have the ISO 9001 standard with you when you do the audit. But that's not always helpful. Again, because it's too generic, and if you're not familiar with the elements of the standard, you cannot even open what's the relative clauses that you're auditing. So it's better to have your checklist, okay? So company standards, so like I said, don't be shy to ask for procedures when you're preparing the audit, especially when you're doing second party, okay? Customer's requirement and then your documented quality system. So this is what I'm saying now. The principles of auditing, ethical conduct, the foundation of professionalism. So what does it mean? When you go to an audit, you present your company. You don't go there for personal reason. So you always have to adhere with ethical conduct. You don't shout, you don't scream, you don't act as if you're the boss. No. Okay? So you go there, you act professional, and then you do your job. Fair presentation, the obligation to report truthfully and accurately. So like I said, you are checking for conformity. You're not looking for faults because you hate the manager, so you're going to bombard him with non-conformance. So that's not correct. Okay? So we have to be factual. Do professional care, application of diligence and judgment in auditing. Sometimes there is a discretion of, am I going to raise an NCR or am I going to raise an observation? So when you raise too many NCRs, it's becoming an issue to the organization because that means that they're not implementing their system at all, or you're just nitpicking. So it could be judged against you or the organization. So you have to be very careful. If you think that the item or the issue that you see during the audit is simple and can be acted upon, then you can always compromise with the audit. Unless it's very critical, so you raise the independence, the basis of for the impartiality of the audit and objectivity. Like I said, you have to be impartial. What does it mean? You cannot be biased. Because she's my friend, so I'm not gonna raise NCR. Because I hate this person, so I'm gonna bombard him with NCR. No. Okay? So you have to be professional, you have to be ethical. Focus on the audit criteria, focus on the audit objective. Evidence-based approach, the rational method for reaching reliable and reproducible audit conclusions. Reproducible. So that means it's tangible. You can see, you can reproduce, you can have a copy. Okay, so you don't, when you do an audit, you always ask for objective evidence. Okay, so I will just to have a visualize of what I'm talking about. So this is the audit report that we did for hearing. This is the BIM design, management, and the BIM audit. If you will see, okay, just merely looking at it, what can you notice? I'll read the first item. BIM Quality Assurance Plan is available and was submitted to the client for approval. Current status of the BIM Quality Assurance Plan is revise and resubmit, code C. Herein to ensure that comments are responded to and document to be resubmitted for code A status. What does this statement tell you? Based on what we've already discussed so far. No wrong answer. Any idea? So that you can have a better understanding of how to write an audit report. We talk about objective evidence. We talk about audit criteria. We talk about audit objective. What do you see in this first item? I said that when you're doing an audit, you have to have an audit criteria, right? So what is the audit criteria that I use?
Quality assurance.
Correct, the quality assurance. And what about the quality assurance plan? What this statement is telling me about the quality assurance plan? we've established the audit criteria, right? So what about? Okay, it's correct. The criteria is the BIM Quality Assurance Plan. What's the status of the BIM Quality Assurance Plan? Code C. So that means that Code C is
Need to be
it
compliant.
acceptable or not acceptable?
acceptable. Need
Because
to
you
be
have
compliant.
to resubmit. Because the requirement tells that all documents must be Code A. Okay, so that's the
Intention.
what's the Code C? That is your observation. Because it's not acceptable. So that's why here, herein to ensure that comments are responded to and document to be resubmitted for Code A status. So that is your observation. Again, I don't have any personal feeling. The comment, see here, okay, category, forget about it. But 3 is observation. Okay, so 5 is practice, system is in place. So let's now compare 1 and 2. Design quality plan was submitted with approved with comment status, herein to ensure that all comments are responded to and the document is resubmitted for Code A status. I put here 3, which is observation, because it's Code C. In here, I put I put 5, which is system in place, because it's Code B. So technically, it's acceptable, and we can use that as a reference. However, they still need to address the comment for Code A status, because eventually, when we hand over all the documents, the client will only accept Code A status. So, not because it's Code B, you will put 3, because it's still acceptable. So this is what I'm saying, that you have to have proper description. So you will not be limited to only Code A because it's the requirement. B is acceptable as long as the comments are addressed and resubmitted for Code A status potential.
Now what is category 4?
For 4 is improvement opportunities, aspect that would lead to management system optimization with respect to standard requirements. So, and then system is implemented in accordance with the requirements. Let's say, for example, well, it could be 4, it could be 5, but for me, because they have to address the comments, so I put 5. 4, if, say for example, it's Code A, but I've seen some improvement in the way they written the procedure, say for example. So that could be 4. But since the status is B, so vendors stick to system is in place, but they need to address the comments.
Like we don't refer to the OCS or which kind of comments, so we can do 4 or 5. Like if
Again, depends on the audit objective. So if the audit objective is to review the comments and the sufficient submission of the comments of this particular document, then you can check the OCS. For me, that's not my intention. My intention is to just check the status. I don't care what's the comment. Okay? Because when you do that, like you're becoming too meticulous, right? So you don't wanna go deeper into that kind of scrutiny, because again, audit is limited. You have limited time. Normally, I do it 2 hours, and I have to check everything in 2 hours. So I try to focus on what's the requirement. So if the requirements is to have a Code A and then they have a Code C, then I will focus. I don't care what's the comment. But if your objective is to review that all comments are addressed, then yes, by all means. So depends on the, again, audit objective. Okay? Clear?
the category is standard from
Yes. So the category when you do an audit is here. So non-conformity, so you will put, well, major, minor, it's just the same. So absence or total breakdown of the system to meet the requirements, and major lapses to a specific requirements that will create adverse effect to customer satisfaction and quality of the product. minor management weakness or a minor issue that could lead to a major non-conformance without adverse effect. Observation, single observed lapse or failure to comply with one guideline. Improvement aspect that would lead to management system optimization. Actually, you can put improvement opportunities also as the best practice. So here I can put 4, but we're not rating it. So that's automatic. No? When you see something good, so that's 4 already. Okay. And then system is implemented in accordance with the requirements. So for 1 and 2, it's just the same. So, but again, if it's just very minor, like say for example, you want to raise because there's no attendance sheet, and you cannot verify that evidence of a training has been conducted, then you can put 2. But there's no training at all. There's no, of course, there will be no attendance because there's no training. People are not aware. People doesn't know what to do, how to do their job. Then of course that's 1. It's a major lapse in the system already. Okay. Like everything you ask for is, I don't know, I don't have that. Yeah. What are you gonna do? You raise NCR.
The non-conformity we just attach it to the audit
Yes,
report.
correct. So NCR form. I will show you later the revised NCR form and then how to fill it up also. So here, best practices also is indicated. So again, no, when you do your audit, be generous with the auditees because we have to understand you are all making the best way that you can to improve your job and to do your job, right? So it's the same with the auditees that you're auditing. They're also trying to do their best. So try to recognize those good practices. Okay? Even if you tell here, like there is this conclusion here. So here is a brief, okay, in the first part of the audit report, you have a summary. So the summary is like an overview of the audit that you conducted. And then in the audit conclusion, it's after the audit has been performed. So you can thank the auditee, you can even write here how cooperative and welcoming the auditees are. So this is where your being human applies because you want to show emotions, appreciations, gratitude, yeah. So, but not in the observation part. Okay. So in the conclusion, again, so you try to be objective here also. Anyway, so we will have that, don't know, maybe we can have another session for filling up on the report. Well, you will have a workshop later, but just the basics, not the complete. So, auditor, you have to have the proper education, work experience, training, and then audit experience. So your education is your graduate of civil engineering, business management, robotics, or whatever, you know. And then your work experience, I've been working as QA/QC engineer for the last 15 years. And then auditor training, I have a lead auditor course. And then audit experience, I've been auditing for 20 years. So like that. So combination of all your competence. We've discussed this already. So ethical means you're fair, you're truthful, you're sincere, and you're honest. So you're not nitpicking, you're not looking for mistakes, you're not creating any conflict with your auditees. Open-minded, willing to consider alternative ideas. Like I said, are you gonna raise NCR for having green ink? Of course not, right? So diplomatic, tactful in dealing with people. Okay. In the construction world, there will always be conflict. And I am telling you, auditees will test you to your limits. I've experienced many group audits. You have to stay focused and grounded. Once you lose track and you get emotional, you're done. And you don't want to embarrass yourself in front of the client. Okay? I've learned this the hard way many times when I was starting. And you will experience the same, I'm sure, trust me. But as long as you know what you are doing and you're properly prepared, then you'll be okay. Okay? What do I mean by that? Sometimes when you're asking questions, they will give you different answers. Or sometimes they will challenge you. Who are you? What are you doing? You don't even know what we're doing. Why are you asking me this question? You will experience this. So, you don't need to respond. Keep steady. Continue with your audit. And you ask, is there anyone I can ask? If they're still resistant, then you stop the audit and then you escalate it to the top management. Okay? Do not hesitate to stop the audit if you feel that your audit is being compromised because of unprofessional auditing. You are not there to pick fight. You are there to check their work. Okay? And most of the time, I do that. To be honest, I do that because who are you? Why are you checking my work? I know what I'm doing. I can do this better than you. Why are you asking questions to me? So sometimes I get like what I did last time, right? You've seen me. That's how it is. Let's see how good you are. And it's a learning for you also. Because if you will be afraid and if you will be shy, then not. Loser. You lose the objective. You can go home, pack your bag. I don't want to do this anymore. That's how it is. It's ego. So you have to be able to manage it. Okay? Observant, constantly and actively aware of physical activities. When I'm doing my audit, I'm not focusing on the paper that I'm holding. I'm not focusing on the questions. My mind and my eyes are roaming everywhere. I'm looking at every corner, every detail, every person. I'm doing it all at the same time in my head. And then when I see something, I will just write it down and wait for the right moment to ask the question. Can you tell me why there is this machine there that can cause accident? So, things like this. And you're doing quality audit, but by all means, check all safety considerations also, because that's part of quality. So instinctively aware and be able to understand situations, versatile, adapt to different situations, tenacious, persistent, focused on achieving objective, decisive, reaching timely conclusions, self-reliant, acts and functions independently. This is very, very important. We are independent with the rest of the organization. So that means that we can audit any department that we want because we don't have bias. Because our department, our role is to check that we are complying and implementing with all the documented requirements that we've set for this organization. Okay? Okay. Auditors should maintain their competence by ensuring that their knowledge and standards are current, review any new auditing procedures and methods, participate in recurrent training as required. It could be a challenge for you, but for me, I see it as a learning. When you're doing audit, every audit is different. And every audit is a learning process because you get to learn something from it. Okay? When I do my audit, I spend days reading procedures, reading manuals, reading their requirements so that I can understand. So that when I go there, it's as if I am there working with them, And that's what you need to understand. And that's why I love doing this job because you learn a lot of things. So you're not limited to just one area of your roles in the organization. So every 3 years, the standard is changing. So that's why it says here that recurrent trainings are important. Okay. There is a lead auditor. So the lead auditor is the one responsible in preparing the audit notice, preparing the audit plan or audit notice, preparing the audit checklist, and then carrying out the opening meeting. So this is the role, So we have lead auditor and then we have the auditor. So the lead, of course, is the leader of the team. So he will be the one to direct you of what he needs to do, of what the entire audit team needs to do. So he manages the audit, selects audit team, performs system audit, prepares audit plan, briefs audit team, interface with audit team management team, reports findings, deal with any problem, responsible for. So kumbaga sa movie, talking about movies. So if you talk about movies, this is the superstar. The lead auditor. Okay. So the auditor collects evidence of conformity. So you have the checklist. The lead auditor will tell you, okay, use this as your guide. We will split, so cover this, and then I will cover this. So the auditor's role is to collect evidence, ask questions, interview the audit teams, and then after the audit, he will give out his, they'll do wrap up. So it's like a internal discussion among the auditors, and then the auditor will discuss to the lead auditor, this is what I see, and then they will deliberate whether is this a non-performance, or just an observation, or is this an area for improvement, or is this a best practice. Okay. So just the whole audit flow. So you have the initiation. So you plan based on your annual audit program. So for us here, so we have an annual audit program. Okay. So scheduled audit are these items, and then completed audits are the ones with excess, and then rescheduled are the ones with backlogs. So as of the moment, we are behind because we're supposed to do an audit to QD first week of July, but I didn't. So, but we're done with document control, we're done with ready mix, and then we're done with hearing. So next audit will be construction. So plot B. Again, it's already third week, so probably these two is gonna move to August. So let's see. So this is the whole annual audit program. So once you do this, you now create the one that I showed you a while ago, the audit notice of a particular. So let's say, for example, we're gonna audit QBSPG tomorrow. So I will prepare this, and then I will put the audit date for tomorrow. And then when you do that, you also, I don't wanna, in other organizations, they're very specific, like time, like after opening meeting, HR, and then training, and then this, and waste of time, no? You start with, because that limits also your auditor. When you set the time, and you intend to finish it according to your time. Okay? So I do opening meeting for 10 minutes, and then after I'll do audit proper for 2 hours, and then I'll do closing for 30 minutes. And that's it. Okay? I don't want to focus on, okay, first BIM, and then second design, and what if there's a lot of questions to be asked with the BIM, and then very limited to design, or the other way around. So I will be questions like, hey, your time is up. So I want to be on the safe side. Audit will be from this time. So I decide who I want to ask and where I want to go. Okay? So you put your name here. So once you properly filled up, so you put the name of the auditee, and then you submit it to them. Okay? So you have to make sure that the auditee acknowledges the audit notice before you proceed. Okay? Because otherwise they might not receive, or they may not agree with the date. So you make sure that you coordinate with the auditee. So that's the initiation. So document review is once you prepare for the checklist. I will show you a sample. So document review and preparation. So this is the checklist that I use for RMQ. So if you see here, in your checklist, you have to have the, what is this part? Audit criteria. So I use the QCS requirement as my audit criteria. So in this particular section, section 5, Appendix A, Part 1, factory condition. So because part of the facility tour is you have to check. So concrete floor under mixer and silos. That means that is it concreted or it's sandy or what? So that's, you have to check. Concrete floor with slope under materials, hand and stable surface for access and ramps, floor clean, cleaning plan implements, drainage system available, separated place. So these are the things that you look at. So you go You check, hold your checklist. Okay, let me see this one by one. So if you're new, don't be afraid. I want to go one by one. Who cares? As long as I stick with the audit time. Okay? So especially when it's a technical and you're not a technical person, so it's important that you see it as detailed as possible so you can have an idea. So again, at the end of the day, if you think that it's critical, then you or the lead auditor decides whether it's a non-conformance or not. If not, but obviously, if all of these are not there, and then you see, that's very obvious NCR, because that's one whole part of the requirements that they're not complying with. Okay? So that's for the factory tour. Aggregate shading, separation under shad, aggregate separation in bins, aggregate scale calibrated. Is there a cover for conveyor belts? So all these things, no, you have to see. Okay, and then planning and preparation. So first, we've discussed a while ago resources, right? Is there enough resources for them to be able to fulfill their project requirements for us? If we say that we need, I don't know how many kgs of concrete in a day, so will they be able to provide it to us? Do they have the enough materials, enough manpower, enough resources? Okay. Processes. Do you have a procedure in place to do your job? Do you have equipment on site? Is it properly calibrated? Is it properly maintained? See here. Do you perform calibration? Backup for transit mixers if it breaks down? Do you perform preventive maintenance or regular checkup on the mixers? Do you establish waste concrete recycling facility? Of course, they need to have that, because otherwise they're just gonna create such a mess. Do you maintain rolling stock and strategic stock for all raw materials? So again, you're asking, do you have enough resources? So all of these are focused on the resources and the process. If the requirement is beyond the capacity of the main batching plant, how do you coordinate with the backup batching plant? So meeting the required client requirement. So you have to ask this question. Batching plant activities. So you want to check the processes. So this one is input, output, process, output. So very simple. So you just check. So if you will see here, even if I don't have references anymore, but because I know what to look at, I can easily generate proper questions. But for you, since it's your first time, it's going to be difficult. But always use your technical expertise in establishing questions, because that can also help you. If I were in that position, if I am doing that job, what should happen? Okay, and then based on your idea of how system works, you can always ask that question. So it takes practice, it takes experience, but in the long run, you'll be able to do it. I also took some specifications, like the frequency of tests, so that I can check the test results in the lab, whether it is being done in accordance with QCS requirements, including the frequency. So you can check that also. Okay? So it's very important to have a checklist. Do not go in audits, in any audits without a checklist, because you will be lost. And you will be confused. And they will confuse you, I'm telling you. So even, like, say for example, you're just asking, okay, do you have test report for concrete, C4050 concrete? And then they will give you many different kinds of away from that, because they don't have. That could happen. We have a training of our people. We have a maintenance of our machine, but they're not actually answering your question. Or sometimes you will also confuse yourself. That will happen. You ask the right question, but you don't know how to follow up. Okay. I don't understand anything here. I can only see numbers, especially when it's drawing, it's test report, it's lab test. Yes.
One question. I just noticed that the signature from the checklist is only from the audit.
Yes,
auditor.
because
So how can we justify that these the one we check are exactly correct?
For me, okay, I do this because I know what I'm doing. So I'm just the one, because checklist is just a guide. It doesn't have to be approved by anyone. This is for your own basis of how you want to carry out the system. But if you're not confident, feel free to ask someone. That's the whole point. That's why you have the lead auditor. The lead auditor is the one preparing the audit checklist. Okay?
When we have been audited, there was no checklist.
No. That's why I complain.
Ah,
That's why she walked out.
That's why I walked out.
And she asked me to.
like just notes.
No, because it's not right. Okay, we are prepared for it. We prepared for it, we made an effort, and then when they come, like they're asking, why is in revision C, blah 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 blah, like what the hell?
It's like shooting so many birds in.
They wasted our time literally because they're asking stupid questions and because they don't have a checklist, and I don't want you to do that. This is what I'm telling you. They have the audit notice. Okay, Jason, you have the training for this, right? 30 minutes there sitting, talking about PQP. What do you want? We've already resubmitted. So, it's embarrassing considering that they are client representative and they ask questions like that. I went to hearing. I went to RMB. When I first did my hearing audit I was with Chris Bell, the QA/QC manager of LBQP, and he was observing me the whole time. And I was hoping, I was the lead auditor, and then I told Jason, okay, let's split so that we can work faster. Because there's so many things to ask, and we only have 2 hours. So I asked Jason to focus on the design management, and then I will focus on the BIM side of things. I thought the reason why I asked Jason to take on the design management because I thought that's what Chris wants to know. And then eventually he asked, okay, I will follow Criselda. So, okay, I don't care, I'm ready. So, I was there, I was asking, and then in the middle of the audit, because the 2 auditees left, they were getting some information, and then he asked me, are you design expert? I said, how do you know so much? I've been doing this for a long time. I can ask questions even if my eyes are shut down. So, I'm not an engineer. This is BIM. What do I know about clashes? What do I know about these schedules? But I've done my job. For the last few days before that audit, I was reading their documents. They have 4 documents that they submitted. Design management, quality assurance, BIM, etc. I've read all of this, word by word. And then I used the checklist as a basis for my audit. So I know what to do. I know what to ask. And I know what they're asking to. So in the end, at the end of the audit, he has his own checklist of the items that he wants to verify. And then he showed it to me. Okay, let's just check whether we've covered everything that I want to know. This, plus this. Yes, Mr. Chris. We've answered all the questions. And he was happy. So that's the kind of audit you want to be represented. Systematic and organized. If he was here during that dark, oh my God, I don't know. So that's the preparation. The preparation is the most important. Okay? Performing is just the show. How you present yourself, how you ask the questions, and if you prepared it well, really well, then you'll be okay. Even in acting, preparation is the most difficult. You have to memorize your lines, you have to stand, you have to present yourself in such a way that you show emotion or whatever, no? So the performance is just the bonus of the whole